baby fene ye bi time enra ne nekura de kote kura ne say oba kumasi airport na Nkrofo nim so obefo aeroplane mini so na tu nifo a ma ne fa car eti na obedu kumasi na o say ohun say ne Nkrofo je to say o sanfa fm de eko airport fa me dwene ho na asemi me some ye mu di de say frem ne ebisam na mo kire yen because na me tie me nua akwashi opon ya morning show issue sa abranti a won suma ma no ko gina ba bi mo ntim poda obeba be ka asem se do hu ni pepepe nti e no kora maame no wo de ka na free and crying e bai ma se no hu say na chitafo wo prempe the first airport 20 no ko ho ana na wadaro mu makeka bum ye okuna ye kura wa ama e de ne ma ne bai de botai wo de bai ne say
about holidays or Afia Asako into a just say money be also ye was in Ghana no also Kojo or lawyer waha about also best rami Senkrata buha ye beshu money ashim afutu be a major free in terms of facts. I'm so legal advise them one am some man and that is exactly what she came to do. So far, so good. Do Accra almost was Kosram. About Kumasi or church and penny for especially what Mujina Mano, a brand only Ghana. No. We are in Krata, also, I may make sure so I answer no. We are was uncle near to Juma, so I need a good super high young Juma. Once a process, and you know. The hands of best in some, everyone has in sense. No, do Yakojina Mamma, sanity.
I was your friend, Oba Penny Akosua, the late icon Daddy Lumba, Naire, and I near Penny and an airborne commoner. Now, Oren Munyam for lawyer William Kusi, Kofa by Kofa Dominion Chambers by the client, and now Oba Walkman, and I wouldn't amamra. Atoto niam nyina yama no the late Daddy Lumba na yere ene ne ebon komo no lawyer wadawruma meyi adesua a wasua si nchen a with all due respect fa cheme menim se wo akani ede na si wo kwan se obetu obayifo se omra maye okuna yie ni bi na mpo daachi bia no sin se ayi na chi no na fe no oba na Nkrofo chihira no ade ama otim se obetu se omra na fe ya bibia wi na ana ho de nya wasam.
No, sir, you share circumstances now, the year, she couldn't have come because a day before the year there was an application before the quarter. Now, Abusuafono is seeking to restrain the court from moving ahead, the head of family from moving ahead to perform the funeral. And she had that information, and we knew that circumstances. The facts before the court, the baby a court may grant him. Because at the time,
Mamia Kusi Serwaa ne lawyer, a lawyer Kusi, a dinsimbi ababe tubia. After say Mamia Kusi Serwaa and the Okosrano, a year Angel TV, so credit to Angel TV. Just in the same Kayemono, Okasa fine, and in the same Kayemono sooner I reho because a dear judicial system no a year now. Nanka sebi judicial system no and same fata so be yesa and so minam yesimi ye judge did that moment in the American be a final answer na judge no ye be enough no this a petition akudu president no ho e dey am chief justice Afia no and yes am dey make be a final into na judges ye ntimi influence you say about we the influence wom influence e wom o man e o no influence ewumpa Ghana no wa osika so na se bi udi asema ede ai edru ha wa osika so because Ghana na akwan se minim we nti we nsu nim we ene we nuane president ene we nuane vice president nti ene ye fam fafa ne fam copy no so what I say Nkansah obi di asema copy me. I'm trying to create a scenario for you to understand sa no my Ghana na kwa minim we ene nti na case no ekoye sa nanga case no eni kwan se nka case na ede eyesa because that moment set judge pan bema obe odi case beto ho ama the final judgment na within 30 minutes judge na san dane no se case na me mind ma san dane ne de e mu hu mi ti bi o Ghana mpani nsem so judge ne pe na ye judge awaye bi ama me hu na judge no so ye ni woda lumba eye hu ama me hu se Ghana no o sika na o kura na itimi influence judge e ma judge itimi ye bibi itimi influence obi e ma ne ye bibi banka nye sanso na wo se eye bisua lawyer Kusi akanse bebre nti bimra
time no na bu so fire application akọ police headquarters omo person mu they sabi buy ama lumba free mu, which was a criminal matter, and the police actually almost complain no more young juma. I was surprised. I was not surprised when initially it came to court not grant application, no, because we are very already. Couldn't obedience about the investigations. So I was more surprised when we had the judge in Afia, the lawyers involved. So I'm not saying yes, I'm not for.
Now, lawyer, I want to own him. Now, me pay mrebia. Emrenim ni biti say mumubi. Ebeka court asem na ya yen semfatan ye bisa. Because me jina fidie so ye adwuma. Matiefo etie me bedi madanse say. Ye di nkomo no an ye hunu say. Abusua no say omon empene so nti say ni na court nye. Na court bu ya say the abusua ne kan modu ni say nti won ma motumi. Eti ye de yesese ye ne ma afidie so akono ye beti ne say court say. Ma okra ye frɛ ma ekoba ase e wo se court san si enkonya foforo na emum enya court dem wo se de o kan asem foforo no e ba to minim kwa mfa sa mudi mu nsem na ehn fa mudi asem a edimu na yin na mo tra enim.
It was a strange occurrence. Adia yenye court chini say court ma order bisa so a fontus official which is his official capacity to pronounce on the matter and has been taken away from him. So this will be the application number or an appeal. It sounded impossible for a court to recall the parties involved. Where is his jurisdiction? It will be for application, but to lawyer near the application. How did they send the application? It was, and to me, it was one of the darkest days in our legal life. Say, court beat my answer, but whatever it is, now send your tiano. The time was so short for anybody to file an application. Say, the court near Nyamra because there's no Kusi, and do file here. Before I best file na adiachi. Near several. When I best several process no. And until now see if it taken good faith near ma and near my cost so send a bear mistake go maybe to my correcting later. And that is what happened. A strange appearance. Where the judge's opinion, the procedure was wrong. So we have situation where the judge opines like they see kumasi during the argument no Obinim correct. You can go on appeal and challenge his decision. But when the it's unheard of. But it happened though, and I'm happy that it has gone in the records. Say ABC or Ghana. How many days you had the law school?
Pepi ni yakasa o kan wasem no kakra wi a now the education tato minim ase sabi de oti ho a odi asem no ba no oye emranim ni a wasua de se de wasua de no na ede ni a sabi with all due respect or the common sense be kan ho eti wo common sense na de kan ho na ene ne de na anye pa nka be ha
emranim common sense. What do I say? Yeah, common sense in Muyamra, yes, and Kofa. Continue white. Our money experience will be as often common sense. Then go apply. We just work law school. That it all. Kind of court district court, about circuit, and about high court. All these things is to train your mind to make legal decisions. And do the common sense could go as a more high court. I said, what?
As I'm Emra.
You may not like it, but that is the law. You have to apply it as it is. And that is why we are challenging the decision.
Nice one. Now, our client, apart from holidays or buy, or adwemfoforo bi fa okunu wo ne ho ne anamon bi a wosere wo ma odi na money 2 year court no ho ana
oni adwemfoforo bi oba fie besra abusia mekura na me ne nhia ya kasa ofon so to obedo nsa betum nsayem adofo ba so say na Ghana for si don. It tells you that Ghanaians disagree with the decision of the court. Ghanaians disagree with the decision of the court.
Nipa ne kweshia no airport one na ma dwena yam kesene na.
Of course. No, don't bring me back and talk about together.
Nipa wo omkweshia maami wo airport one. Ene wo mo ba yi no wa quantify ahwe.
I'm a quantify.
There in a dozen.
The funeral, let me tell you about the relative term of the numbers. In fact, numbers no but that is even a lighter side of it. Because with himself, Akosua's arrival in Ghana was uncertain. And they took just a few hours to organize those people we saw at the airport. And the advertising and a year to the advertising, big boss, a big crowd, and so nipa ama omon free districts in na so mbehwe what I say you could see how light the attendees were so Antwi o compare every fan says Akosua say why na so be year and ka just ekohan kumasi ba akobeka ho ansa na aso yenkum
na kwani la social media they say they no we da paso kro say o hewachi cause social media na manipa ye fie nyina just security bia e porous
no kura na me no sura Obofour no anya roja de no me so mo sura Obofour no obo me ho ba kese pa anti amayo ahotoso senya me doye unim ze ali baba me fale api no there were threats. My wife was even threatened. Pressure, domestic pressure, na minya happy. Because that pressure, if it is obvious that we had a bad case, why will anybody threaten anybody? We are standing for justice and we will get it. I'm so confident.
Lawyer, yes, na Papa Shikra, Krata B and Crawford feel say original certificate now more than a photocopy or two baby said and Crawford can one. As I mean, my card is a Makuman in Bao. And no crest or the certificate Biaba. Now, Sanatia, Obama Kama, or Mudia
certificate. I'm in Nkansah. In court, we usually send the copied ones. They did that year. And we got here to send us a certificate. And copies in the court. You now say judges okay. Or the 2 million or so per originals. I catch a Akosua Serwaa envelope or the mail by in a cry. The court. So originals nini. And we were all surprised when the judge says OfficialSarkodie baby na and no original now. And look, the level of
judge who say judge na dwen and say and original mo koye baby.
I now the document no doubt is you could see it's not from Ghana because family book
a lawyer of your caliber now obe present here dey bia judge bi beka say enye no obi akofa free baby na say I was here bisa ho asem yi pa then pa na beba ntia e man adwene be ne say mo koye free baby na enye original
adwene bone
angel.
Otherwise, I mean, you know that I no opinion me integrity to suggest that me no go for fake documents about court. What for? What am I going to gain from it? Addo because I know sincerely that the parties, the lawyers on the other side knew it was genuine. The judge said, knew it.
Addo free if I don't know.
Now, what's your judgment? No? Judge, initial stages of the judgment will say evidence will say or ordinance marriage certificate from Germany. They are only second one, and until the document cannot be original. Otherwise, it wouldn't sit with her decision. And I want to make answer. I say,
Clear.
Exactly. If she has to decide against us, then she has to say that the certificate was fake. Otherwise, there was no window for her to decide that both of them were wives. And on a lighter side, she has always sought to explain that she met them in the middle and then promoted peace. You get the point? And she, in an attempt to promote peace, she has to say our certificate was fake. My certificate, I can tell on authority it wasn't fake. It was the original certificate from Germany. So,
wow. Lawyer, that's a pa. Now, what are my Ajuma Ekurawi? Abushia, see that Lumba, Mamre Kwanshui, appear in Hobby here. Now,
oh, in fact, Osha, Nkansah, medical quarter, and your friends in the medical quarter may seek for injunction because we saw a rush to bury the body when we were talking about who is a wife and who can perform. These were the two things that the court had to address as far as we are concerned. If you can't really phone, I have to phone that you file process. If you they want to do a postmortem, and that the opinion is not even the rightful person to conduct the funeral. I know Abusuafo, they had their lawyer. Maybe the status of Akosua as a wife is what I was prosecuting. And it is as relevant today as it was when the action was taken, because I've said this, said the disease is cancerous. Cancerous. I tell you, low, my bet spread just say alone, you know. It is very bad for a court to look at the certificate of a country like Germany and say that fake. Couldn't him say in diplomatic circle that country can also say they won't accept any certificate from Ghana because of that decision. And I will be irresponsible if I sit down for that to happen. And what I can do is to prosecute an appeal, which will probably look at it differently and say that, oh, it was an original certificate. Because German certificate, the social media, people were posting this. There were no signatures of the parties on the certificate. And it will conclude that because the Akosua about the certificate signature, no, the almost sign. Everything we said was true, except that they had to refuse it in order that they can create peace in court. But it is tried knowledge to be worried under German, won't be worried second wife. I don't know. I ABC. So to succeed in doing that, they have to say we couldn't lead evidence to show so what Germany. But Mama Kansam, so one the representative your Obofour court, no. In his evidence was see Lumba Kachom so worry or Germany. Nadana mo worry no. Ye bisa no see na we did break it down beyond record. Wa ankasi wa gunu. I break the records are there for people missing Kofi proceedings, especially almost criticizing it, no. They should look at the proceedings and know exactly what happened. They admitted Lumba had told them on 2 occasions that he was married in Germany. And then Bizarre said, did you look at the certificate of divorce? They didn't. And I'm saying, oh, I'm 419. That's the trend of the cross-examination. That if you knew somebody was married under German law, that's about you have to ask for a decree of divorce. Otherwise, it could happen that the marriage was subsistent. You get the point? So, to me, there was evidence overwhelming. Abusuafo says that he wasn't there when they were married, he wasn't there when they were divorcing. To them, who has MBA. Although Brony witness is there, Lumba catch say our dinner a good one customer could twitchum. And so there was even evidence apart from the issue of certification and all. I say Mranama Kwanso Jitum, even though there was no certification. Until we are confident. And yes, Lumbanani and Bessie, and I ain't be and through Dobro, but we want the truth. What does it?
That's all. I say, na enye the legend Daddy Lumba, what wono ye see no, and I have one. And no money or Dobroni, so near Sembia, name mum no cre, was nothing but the truth shall set you free. Tinokrana na penwa
Alibaba
Papa
unim says obi ho say protect over sankula anketenkete na ya wo mo. And we are very sensitive and mindful about that. We are not irresponsible. But you see, marriage is a big institution. Every society of the marriage media grown. Society break it down. Yeah, and Alishemra, so called Wale, and by a month to the second one. We should respect that.
Sure.
Obaso Wari Tua, Amania Wadi or Wadia, which is some man boss. I can vote the for Ebro. Muslims for I can vote you can marry more than 4. Once it is under customary marriage. Why? Who is compelling them to marry under those ordinance laws so that they can marry? Who is compelling them? If you make a choice, you should live by it. You can't get the court to say, I don't respect your certificate because it has not been certified, when the facts are quite obvious. And what do we do in court? Justice.
Of course. The
truth is very important. You can't gloss over it. And you see, we refer to the judge, say, the Supreme Court has several said the court should not rely on technicalities and for them to defeat justice. So when the facts are there, you don't say, when the law has given a caveat, say certify Akra, that's a we took 8 days to hear a complete case. Ghana, what to be that 8 days at the case that we wanted to cooperate with the judge to come to the end before the funeral, which we did. And you see that we have been quiet about the judgment.
Angel.
Because he appealing, he hasn't commented too much. We go to the course of appeal. We only come in when people are trying to blame us. They are perfect work within that short time. The next lawyers, are going to be as a 5. The lawyer
I don't know.
Last week, a friend is Frimpong. I'm not Frimpong.
Yeah, lawyer, not Frimpong.
Mr. Ona now, social media, so to I am pure. So,
what in the middle?
Because I'm a classmate.
Okay, just a catch ray.
I'm a classmate.
Law school and basic.
Law school.
Well, okay.
Oh no, I'm jurisprudence to be called no Makola. Then he had jurisprudence.
It's not the okay.
To be said, Wawarina or say for 15 years. I mean, and you see the facts he was narrating he was threatening the law because you see, they were ordinary residents in Germany or Bani Okunu or Ma Echo School or Majuma or Mufi and a man no yes or Bagana. One I deserted in young Wawadi. Wow, if you have Bagana no. Or Bano to Germany desert. How can anybody even have that level of reasoning? Unless we have anybody. And if the judge says that Odizeti Lumba, I mean, why? 1 + 1, I don't know 5 now. Maybe no what? You German nationals. No one from Germany about Ghana. Also, me desert. I did a logic, I don't know. But the judge was bold to make all these comments. Instead of saying Lumba deserted the woman, probably that would have been a light better. Oh, Lumba deserted there. There was a desertion, but it was Lumba who deserted there, not the other way around. So, but they made all these commentary and people like not cheap.
I need Jim Kwadwo Echebeni could be a Lumba Dakaso. Na Yebekin kind, Nipim ne Wala. Na nyamene nyina koma o client Akosua Serwaa me madwena American we ka saying obesan court bi there pa na mo je free court after we nation
na court according to no ka probate
say niama na lumba bia wa ye will a niama o de ama wo be court akoprove okay me say mo lawyers ya na mo ye no kokuo mo ne ye no kokuo
so far we be anyiniti
na me ka ne sese ko base e kire bia ko bie so na de o ka nyina ye wo client na de o ka bia ye wo client no a e de bi na ka wo pe wo be pese e be san reverse ye ni bi
Kabe ye de se Nkansah reverse me see me interest wo ye ni. What is it? Me see me interest wo ye. The person me kan say court Nkansah na lumba yere ya bra o ti ase ye Akosua se wa no ni yere bia.
Oh okay.
But no wo ma e wo mpana.
Na kan no mo be ni wa dance.
Ana so ne ti no ne na wo dia ye mpana. On dia ze.
Solomon yes no wives and concubines. Ne concubines na ye ni mo.
I'm not to judge whether it was wrong for him to have taken a concubine. No, I'm not judging on that. You get the point. What I'm saying is that the law is that Lumba was married to Akosua Serwaa and no other person. Because the man said, "Oh, and the ordinance doing one second one." Before you are mistress.
Lawyer William Kusi. Lawyer. Arade manwo shanye ko shewai.
Amen.
Amen. Miss me that's pa mofa. Na arade of what am see. Be resolute. Na defend the wonim say right. Arade nkan ho. Cha me nua baba me. Wonderful. Lawyer William Kusi.